Alright guys, so my intro and outro for this video did not come out very good. The sound was all wonky for some reason. I don't know if some sort of interference, I guess. So I'm just going to do a quick talk through. This isn't a real long video, but this is the assembly video or the install video on doing the engine in the second gen. Like I said, this is one that had a crack in the front of the block that we somehow missed. I'm not really sure, but never seen one crack there before. So I guess we just have to be diligent to making sure we're checking. But anyways.
Hey guys, so got this thing on the hoist. Got the engine partly, well, you would have seen me in the time lapse working on the top side. But I did some stuff on the bottom today and I forgot to have the camera on. I got the starter, some light on the subject here. I got the starter in and hooked up. The bell housing bolts are all in and tight. Heat exchangers hooked up. Nothing really too complicated as far as that goes down here, I think. One thing that I wish I would have done and I forgot is I didn't put the oil pressure sensor in yet, but I'll do that from the top anyway. But pretty straightforward underneath here. So I'm gonna put the truck down and I'll throw back into time lapse for working on, getting the rest of this thing in.
So basically onto the point now where I'm just tightening up, getting everything where I want it to be sitting in there. Not too far away at this point to put the cylinder head on. So I'll get the cylinder head on. I didn't do anything to the cylinder head other than clean it just a little bit with some brake clean and stuff. Obviously new gasket. I never use any gaskets or any of that type of stuff. Just doing the head bolts. This engine is basically just a stock rebuild. There's nothing special about it. Like literally just everything stock spec, even has head bolts in it, which is not usually a common thing for us, but it is what it is. Something to be noted if you are using head bolts, depending on the brand of the head bolts, some are torqued to angle. These are not torqued to yield bolts, they're torqued to angle bolts, so they can be reused as long as they're still within spec. So just to keep an eye on that. Putting the front ends of these things back together. If you take it apart, you put it back together. They're relatively simple to do, not super hard to work on. I prefer working on these versus any of the other ones, any of the other generation. Myself personally, I prefer doing the second gen, doing an engine swap. Maybe it's just because I've done lots of them. Maybe, I don't know. But I do prefer working on the second gen over any of the other generations. So just a little dramatic down. I basically got everything all together. I already put the oil in it at this point. Doing it during the day is hard to do, the filming, so there's it's all time-lapse stuff. But getting into it, at this point, just getting everything buttoned up to start priming a bit. Already, yeah, you can see it in the video. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not, but this is going to be a voiceover on the but on the priming side of things, usually all I do is I will pre-fill the fuel filter. The fuel filter on this one already had fuel in it. I never emptied the fuel out of it. Prime the primer button on the side a bunch of times, and then as soon as you can hear fuel coming out of your overflow, I usually get after it at that point. So usually I recommend not to roll it over for more than 20 seconds at a time. Give it a little cool off period. Make sure you have a battery charger on there, even if it has decent batteries. The batteries in this truck are not that great, but even if you do have good batteries, if you have a little battery charger in there, giving it 15 amps or something, it's just easier on everything, in my opinion. And that way you don't have to worry about running out of battery power to get it to start. Sometimes you do have to roll these things over a bunch. It just depends. Like I said, sometimes they start easy, sometimes they don't. This system actually wasn't too bad. I just had to give it a couple goes and it started up. I've had a few guys ask about the first startup video on it.
Well, that's what it takes to get them running. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're hard. I don't know, sometimes you have to bleed them a bunch, sometimes you don't. I just had to put my foot on the throttle a little bit. So basically, as soon as you get one injector firing, usually they'll fire off the car.
So I will be doing a full-length startup video for you guys that do want to see it. I don't know exactly how long it'll be, but it'll considerably long. It'll be longer than this whole video, just the whole startup side of things. So anyways, just so you guys are aware, just at this point, just double checking everything, making sure the thermostat opens, making sure there's no airlock in there, topping up the fluids, topping up the power steering fluid, because the power steering fluid was low actually when the truck got dropped off, but I had the power steering pump flipped upside down on me, poured a bunch out on the floor, as you can see laying on the floor. Really, other than that, it wasn't too bad. I will have a little short video about the injectors that come out of this truck. Just so stay tuned for that. It's only a couple-minute video, but just so that you guys kind of know what's going on. Yeah, this thing was pretty straightforward. It didn't really have any major issues, but it's a stock truck, so you usually don't have too much issue as far as that goes when you're running with a stock truck. It's pretty simple for the most part. So just did our normal break-in there with the air blower. I'm just blowing off, make sure there's nothing leaking. Just did a normal break-in, which for me is bringing up the running temperature and run it for 15 to 1800 RPM for 20 minutes is pretty much the thing. It's not too crazy. And then at that point, at the very least on this one, everything looked kosher. I cut the oil filter apart. I guess I should have took a video of that, but I didn't. I will on the next one. I cut the oil filter apart, nothing floating around in there that I was concerned about. So I put a new filter on it, and the truck was ready to roll. Anyways, like, subscribe, hit me down in the comments, and remember, it's not rocket science.